On today's show, Cavs get a big win against the Magic. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. I'm Chris Manning. That is Evan Dammarell. Thanks again to Jake Stevens, as always, for his work on production. Segment 1. Cavs Magic Big Takeaway. Segment 2, Game Awards. That's going to be MVP. That's going to be Stat of the Night. That's going to be Play of the Night. And segment 3, talk a little about the rotation and looking at Dean Wade and Georges Niang specifically. But Evan, let's start with the Big Takeaway. Big thing for me, just a good win. There's some things we can nitpick, I believe, but all in all, you get a win. You get big performances from your star guards. The energy was largely very good. This was just a quality Cavs win.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think you could tell that the several days off that Cleveland had just because of the knockout portion of the in-season tournament, a lot of teams had it, Orlando as well. But either way, like the Cavs really needed this time off. Jared Allen said post-game that it was a good mental reset for them. It gave them the headspace to kind of focus on the objectives. Donovan Mitchell said we have to start getting this stuff together, and like they have to come out with a sense of urgency like this every single night. And Darius Garland said we have to put our foot on the necks of the opponent. And tonight against Orlando, he said we just didn't really let go of the rope entirely because there were moments Orlando fought back in this one, but yeah, you could just really tell like the Cavs came pretty engaged and ready to go. They came out lethargic in the third quarter, but didn't, bow down to the Magic like they did against the Blazers. They came back and won and did a pretty good job beating up on arguably one of the better defensive teams in the league. And I think this is a pretty strong and I'd say fundamentally sound win for the Cavs I wouldn't say defensively, but at least offensively, like they were very good in this game.
I think indisputably one of the best defensive teams in the league. I mean, this is straight up just one of the better defenses in the league. Some of the numbers Cleveland put up, I think, are pretty impressive. We'll get to those as we go on here. But you look at the game, you look at the way they played, I think particularly in the first quarter and particularly late, I think that's really what sealed the deal for me, Evan. I think Garland and Mitchell being your drivers of success, Max Strus as well, it felt very... It felt about as clean and as fluid as we've seen the Cavs offense at times. Ultimately, I think in this game. And you get the nights that you got from the guards and they're driving your success, I think you feel pretty good coming out of this. And particularly just the fact that, with 3 days off, maybe some time to talk through some things, work on some things. I think you come out of this feeling pretty good about how you've responded to some of the adversity of late, and maybe you can talk yourself into thinking you're figuring some things out.
Yeah, I think the maybe thing is for sure part of it, just because like offensively you noticed a lot more. Like I asked Bickerstaff about this post game that despite how good Orlando is defensively, like they aren't invincible, like they are pretty average at defending fast break, and they do they crash the offensive glass quite a bit, so they are slow to get back on defense sometimes. So teams that kind of pick up the pace a little bit and kind of make an effort to get extra offensive possessions by getting across the timeline as quickly as possible do a little bit better against the Magic. And you noticed early in this game, the Cavs did make a concerted effort to play at a faster pace and kind of challenge Goga Bitadze or Paolo Banchero or whomever was kind of just having to fall the Cavs in trailing. I know no Jalen Suggs in this one. Hopefully, it's nothing too serious. It didn't look great in the arena, and especially after the first time he was subbed out of the game, it looked like he was grabbing the back of his ankle, so you hope it's not an Achilles thing. So I think not having Fultz or Suggs in this game certainly did make a difference perimeter-wise for the Cavs. But, it wasn't going to slow down Cleveland in the fast break, but you could tell the Cavs really just were sticking to what we talk about a lot on this show is they were attacking the basket quite a bit, applying a ton of rim pressure, certainly not getting as many free throws as Orlando did, but it had a trickle-down effect where the Cavs were applying so much pressure that Orlando course corrected and then started defending the paint a bit more. Then that allowed guys like Max Strus or Donovan Mitchell or Georges Niang in this game, or even Dean Wade, to take advantage of the extra spacing and just take cleaner looks from the perimeter.
The first quarter, Mitchell 15 points, 6 of 7 shooting. Strus 9 on 3 of 5 all from 3. Garland had a quiet first quarter, just 3 assists, just the 2 points. But everything, I think, flowed with Garland. Evan, the last thing I guess from this game is Jared Allen did run back to the locker room at one point. He's anything said about him just him exiting at the end of the game?
So JP Bickerstaff was asked about this by Spencer Davies post game. Bickerstaff said he didn't hear anything from anyone post game, but he did come to the media room pretty quickly after the game. So there may not be anything. Allen did speak with Serena Winters post game as well, and I would assume guys that are hurt usually wouldn't speak to the media, so I think that gives you a little bit of optimism. Maybe he had to go to the bathroom. Maybe
if he had to run off the court like that to go to the bathroom, that would be wild.
Hey man, sometimes you gotta go. There's actually a book about it, so I'm going on the run. But either way, we'll see if there's any update tomorrow, because they do play the Heat on Friday, so there will be an injury update, or if the Cavs practice, whether or not Jarrett practices or not. But tomorrow's and Thursday, so today actually, wink wink. But yeah, no serious update on him. Mitchell seemed fine post game too, after it looked like him and Caleb Houston had a little bit of a dust up towards the end of the game, just like with Houston kind of pushing him out of bounds a little too hard. But yeah, you just hope the Cavs can get out of this one injury free, because that is something that has been holding them back, with LeVert being the guy who's now out because of a knee issue. And yeah, we'll look ahead to see just who is or isn't available. And speaking of LeVert, Bickerstaff did say the plan is for him to travel with the team on this upcoming road trip, and they hope he can get onto the floor at some point during this 5-game trip they're going on.
Cleveland led by as many as 23 in this game. Final stat lines, if you're looking at this, Donovan Mitchell, 35 points and 12 of 24 shooting, was 5 of 10 from 3, 6 of 9 from the line, 6 assists, 4 turnovers. Darius Garland, 26 and 9, 0 turnovers. Strus had 17. Mobley had 16 on 8 of 12 shooting. Allen had 8 and 5. Georges Niang adds 10 off the bench. Dean Wade adds 8 off the bench. Well, Okoro gives you nearly 30 minutes, but did not score, but was a team best plus 16 in his minutes, for whatever that is worth. All right, coming up next, Game Awards. That's MVP stat of the night and play of the night. We'll do that up next. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. As the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay hot on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. Let me repeat that. New customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. You've been thinking about joining FanDuel? There's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. They have NBA odds too, if that is more your jam, including in-season tournament odds. That is going on Thursday night and this weekend. And they'll have Cavs Heat for Friday too. So remember, that's FanDuel.com/lockedon. New customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. FanDuel, official sportsbook of Locked On and official partner of the NFL. All right, Cavs Magic. Evan, who's your MVP?
Darius Garland in this one. He didn't have a great game against Portland the last time they were home. He was better, but not great against the Pistons. I think he really benefited from this time off, and I think he was just all over the court in this game. Like, he really had his finger on the pulse every single time he was on the floor. There were moments that the Cavs staggered lineups with Mitchell, where Mitchell was running point and Garland was sitting, or Garland was just running the show with one of Mobley or Allen, or both of them. And it just felt like the Cavs had a lot of offensive cohesion and flow. And you really saw it because even though Garland's shot wasn't falling in the first quarter, he was still being aggressive, but he wasn't being careless while being aggressive. And he was getting his teammates involved, had a healthy dosage of assists. I mean, allowed Max Strus and Donovan Mitchell to really benefit from the most. But yeah, Garland was phenomenal in this game. And like, completely I don't know. Like Mitchell was red hot scoring wise, almost had a triple double. You could say Strus had a great game too, but like for me, it was Darius Garland in this game.
It's Garland. I'm sorry, Mitchell had 35, and I get that. I get how good he was. I think particularly the scoring for him was awesome. He'll come up in another category for me as we do awards here. And this was he was the tone setter in a lot of ways. But I think Garland playing the most minutes of any player on the team, almost 40, being efficient, still not quite exactly on point as a shooter from three, but got to the line 5 times. The aggression was good. And the 9 assists against 0 turnovers. This is the kind of game Garland has always been capable of. That is the best version of Darius Garland. That is the Darius Garland that makes this Cavs team go. The Darius Garland that makes the Cavs go is the one who's not turning the ball over, who is careful, who is still making ridiculous passes and opening things up for others, but is not turning the ball over in bunches and giving away free buckets. And this is, to me, probably the best game he has played this season. This is one of the best Cavs wins of the season, I think, considering the quality of opponent and where they're at in the year. But just a really good Darius Garland performance. He is the MVP, and Mitchell was great, but I go Garland as well. All right, stat of the night for me. Cavs had an offensive rating of 119.8. To do that against Orlando, really buoyed by what they did in transition, particularly off of live rebounds. Not a ton of turnovers in this game. Did well enough in the half court to score and do all of that. But to put up that kind of offensive rating, to be that efficient, that effective on offense against an Orlando team that came into the game 4th best defense in the league, tied with Houston for 3rd, 109.9 defensive rating. To blow that out of the water, to post that kind of offensive rating that's well better than their own offensive rating for much of this year, you feel really good about that if you're Cleveland. If this offensive rating is on par, with like the 3rd best offense in the league over the course of the whole year, just a really good Cavs offensive performance. Certainly some moments I think where in the 3rd quarter when this game got close, Evan, where the game stuck and the game felt off and you wondered, okay, is the offense reverting back? Is there something that they're doing, their coaching? Is it the play style? What is going on that they can't sustain that first quarter energy in a lot of ways? But they get the transition stuff, and on the whole, this is a very good Cavs offensive performance, and that offensive rating tells that story.
Yeah, and I think it's more indicative of the fact that like Orlando's offensive rating is just so consistently good. Like they are a very good half-court defensive team. Like when they do get set, like it's very hard to score on them because they're just so lengthy and big at every position, 1 through 5. And like, yeah, there's no Markelle Fultz, there's no Jalen Suggs for the better part of this game. No Wendell Carter Jr., but still, like the Cavs made a concerted effort to just put the pressure and tighten the screws on Orlando and just never really relented. And I think just that number is indicative of it. And we'll talk about this a bit more in the 3rd segment. But for me, like Cleveland did have a defensive rating of 107.8, which, is about average for them, I think I want to say right now. But like it's not, obviously JB Bickerstaff was kind of critical of it post game just because of how many free throw attempts they gave up. And I mean, you could talk about the officiating this game all you want, but still, like the Cavs kind of were in that position to begin with too. But either way, like, yeah, that was a really impressive offensive just performance from Cleveland. And I think when we talked about this team heading into the season and them sacrificing some of their defensive power for offense, like this is a good example of that, where they're still able to contain an opponent scoring wise and still win by a pretty healthy margin. Despite the fact that they may be giving up more points or more opportunities at the free throw line. But my stat of the night is we talked about it when Darius was MVP. 9 assists, 0 turnovers. JB Bickerstaff shared with me the other day that like Darius was pretty aware of the fact that he was turning over the ball a little bit more than he should be. He was being very careless with the basketball. It was funny. Ethan Sands post game brought it up, and Darius made him repeat it, I think, twice, just to say like he had 9 assists and 0 turnovers. But like, this is a good example of like Garland being aggressive with the ball, but not being careless with it. Because my play of the night, and I'll talk about it in a second, but like that was the perfect. That my play of the night is like the crystallization of that, where like Garland, when his motor's running hot and he's just feeling the pulse of the offense, is able to just move it and has a certain shiftiness and gravity to his game where he can bend opposing defenses and he can just happen to find his teammates in the right spot. And as he continues to grow and find comfort with the new faces or just kind of the new offensive approaches that the Cavs are utilizing, like this is a pretty welcome sign, just considering like how kind of he's been playmaking wise to start the year.
All right. Let's go to play of the night. What's your play?
So with about 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter, Darius drives to this is a Darius heavy segment for me, but drives to the basket, has either like a behind the back or wraparound pass. You could describe it as either, but was able to hit Evan Mobley, who then got a clean dunk at the basket. And then I know Orlando still kind of scrapped till the closing moments of the game, but like that kind of felt like a dagger play for me, where like if the Cavs had just kind of sucked the life out of the Magic entirely, like that could have been the moment that was the exclamation point. But like that's what I'm talking about. Like Garland is still doing like these really flashy, like high value assists that like are one momentum shifters, but that's him being aggressive with like, you know, his own style on top of it. But like he wasn't being reckless either. Like that was still like a really smart pass because Orlando kind of overreacted. I think they threw two defenders at him and Mobley was kind of open and Garland was able just to sneak the ball into the pocket and get it to his big man and get an easier look at the bucket.
Great play. I mean, Garland, I think, was just... this is those games you cut in. You're just like, oh, right, this guy's really good at basketball. Pretty cool when he's playing good basketball. Like, what a concept, you know? How much better this team is when Darius Garland is doing cool stuff.
I know. It is weird to think about, like, what a concept. You know, some I'm not even going to go there. But, yeah, what's your play?
Donovan Mitchell, third quarter, about a little under 1:30 to go. He misses the three. And he follows it up from the left wing. He immediately knows he missed it. He's already kind of dribbling in the lane a little bit. And then the moment he realizes it's not going in, he chases down, gets the offensive rebound, and puts it right back up. Say what you want about Mitchell. I think there are things you could absolutely critique him about and how he fits into the play style of the team at times or causes some of the issues. This guy is generally just an insane athlete, an insane competitor. When his motor is running like this, he's going to give you 2, 3, 4 plays a night that are just sheer him. I am stronger than you. I am faster than you. I am going to compete more than you. And this is that kind of play. This is a pretty innocuous play in the grand scheme of things. But one of my favorite things about Mitchell time and time again is when he misses shots or he sees an opportunity to make up for a mistake, the energy comes out and he goes after it and he just sprints in a lane. You know, Cole Anthony doesn't block him out and he beats bigs who are closer to the ball to get this rebound and get 2 points, puts the Cavs up 16 with like about a minute 30 left in the third quarter. Just a hustle. This is just a hustle play from your superstar. That stuff does matter.
Yeah, it absolutely does matter. Just because, and you have just like in the fact that like those are momentum shifters. You see a dude busting his butt to kind of make the extra effort because like he could have given up on the attempt. He followed through on his shot, made sure he did a little pass. Cole Anthony, who is not like the defensive guard of like Fultz or Black or Suggs on Orlando's roster, but he's still lanky, he's still long, he's irritating. So like that's a play in of itself, but. It does make me wonder when you see like Mitchell's motor start to run hot like this again after it was like kind of dull to start the season. He was dealing with some hamstring stuff. You have to wonder if like he's finally starting to feel healthy again. Like the hamstrings aren't really as big of an issue as they were maybe when they were kind of nagging, and he's able to turn the corner and kind of start building together some consistency because like we talked about it when talking about MVP, like he was the leading scorer for Cleveland. Garland probably had a bigger impact in terms of playmaking, but like Mitchell did have like, I don't have the stats in front of me, like 7 rebounds, 6 assists as well. Like he was impactful in other ways, but like there's also just moments where like he shows tenacity and grit that the Cavs were certainly lacking before they got him. And thank God they have him now because you hope that he can just continue to string these plays together as he just keeps figuring out maybe his fit like Garland is within like this new offensive system the Cavs are trying to implement.
Coming up next, miscellaneous notes on Cavs Magic, the rotation, and specifically the play of Dean Wade and George Niang. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the largest DFS, that's daily fantasy sports platform in North America. The easiest and most exciting one to play DFS. It is just you versus the numbers. You just pick more or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. With basketball season here, you can now pick combo projections across football and basketball from their specials league. It's a league created specifically for combo projections that include 2 or more players from different sports or leagues. For example, go LeBron James and Travis Kelce plus 10.5 on a combo of 3-pointers made and receptions. PrizePicks also offers a reboot policy, so your entries stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. For football and basketball games, if you have a player who exits the game in the first half and does not return in the second, that player is rebooted. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, that's prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks, daily fantasy sports made easy. All right, last segment. Evan, before we get to the actual basketball stuff, I got to tell you, I didn't know this about him, but I think of any Cavs player on the roster, I think it's either George Niang or Isaac Okoro who I think would be most likely to back up their teammates in a fight. Because every time you see there's like a little scuffle, or like there was the number 2 for Orlando, the Caleb Houston, the former Michigan guy, he had that kind of push. I forget who it was, but push someone into the bench. The only guy to stand up off the bench and kind of talk SHIT at the other person was George Niang. And we saw him get into it the other night with Jalen Duren. I think like he's low-key. Niang and Okoro are like the two guys that are like willing to scrap a little bit if it comes to it. I've kind of enjoyed watching a little subplot of George Niang kind of getting into it with people.
So he's kind of always had that reputation. I know Dean Wade shared this with me. Like, it's, and a lot of other guys in the Cavs are like, it's kind of better to have on your side versus having to deal with him, because he's the dude who talks SHIT to the opposing team when he's on the floor or when they're on his team side of the floor. Like, he's just constantly talking. He never shuts up, really. Like, just is constantly in your ear kind of situation. And Donovan Mitchell actually talked about Niang post game a little bit, but how just how important he is voice-wise just to be like a leader on this team. He is that guy who can kind of be ready to scrap and throw down and has your back, but he's also good at holding people accountable, I think, too. And like, I think he's not afraid to talk crap just to opponents, but also his teammates. Were like, there was a moment Mitchell said he got his shot blocked in this game, and Niang went up to him and said, there's 4 other people open on that play. And then like went back on defense. And so like there's moments like that where like he kind of is a little rough, a little abrasive, and I think that's just something the Cavs are kind of lacking at times. And listen, I know I hold my breath when I watch Niang like dribble drive to the basket, and he was getting shots against the Magic tonight. So hats off to you, George, on this one. But yeah, like he definitely seems like a dude that you would not want to mess with, just because like him, if you had like a tag team of like him and Okoro, like, and it's Hell in a Cell, like, it's going to end up being like Okoro versus Niang, the final surprise, like only 2 come in, 1 come out kind of situation for the belt.
Look, every partnership needs someone who's willing to be abrasive at times. I just think that's important. I think I'm that person with us, if I'm being honest.
You found that over time, and I love that.
That I've slowly, some things changed in my life, and I just slowly was like, I'm just going to be prickly because I think I'm naturally a little bit prickly when I feel like I need to be. Yeah, that tracks. That tracks. That 100% is some interesting stuff for me. All right, rotation tonight. Mobley, Strus, Allen, Garland, Mitchell start. All of them played pretty significant minutes. Allen less than the others due to some foul trouble. But you'd expect him on a normal night to play like 28 to 32 minutes. Okoro plays 28, basically 29. Niang plays 27. Wade plays 14, basically. And then you get the Tristan Thompson cameo at 5 minutes. That said, Tristan Thompson did have like the most success against Paolo Banchero, who just like wrecked shop in this game. Had a game high 42, career high 42 for him. Cleveland really had issues defending him. But the rotation was really 8 guys. Niang and Wade, I think, gave pretty good efforts in a couple ways. Maybe a little lacking in terms of their sturdiness defensively, but I liked the offensive stuff from both of them. Mm-hmm. And it feels like this is the rotation now. Because if like LeVert will be back, and if there's ever a game where maybe Craig Porter Jr. gets back into the fold, you would have thought maybe this is the one considering the LeVert injury. But no, they go 8, and then Thompson really only plays because of foul trouble. So what did you make of the rotation?
Well, first off, I'm really impressed. Isaac Okoro, I know plus minus doesn't give you the full perspective on stuff, but Okoro led the team in plus minus, but while going 0 of 4 from the floor. Like, he once again was really important for the Cavs as like a defensive grinder. I don't know if JB pulled Mitchell a little early in the first quarter, but I did notice like when the Magic were kind of trying to match the Cavs shot for shot, at least on the interior, JB called Isaac's number pretty quick, and Isaac went out there and kind of slowed down what the Magic were throwing at them, whether it was Cole Anthony or Gary Harris, who jumped in pretty quickly for Jalen Suggs. I mean, like, Harris was 1 of 7 from the floor. Cole Anthony was 8 of 14. Anthony Black was 5 of 5. Franz Wagner was 3 of 16, which I think that's like, he really felt a Okoro there. Like, Banchero had a kind of empty calories 42, even though like there were moments where like they were close in it, but like it did feel like a little bit of too little too late towards the end when he was pouring it on. But still, like, Okoro was really impactful in this game. I think you're right. Like, this is the kind of the proper bench rotation where if LeVert is healthy, I think he would leapfrog Okoro minute wise in terms of just the reserve guys. Allen obviously wouldn't play 19 minutes in a typical scenario, but he was in foul trouble. That's why we saw that cameo from Tristan Thompson for about 5-ish minutes or so. But if the Cavs are maybe going 8, possibly 9 deep, and it's LeVert, Okoro, Niang, and Wade, like, that's not a bad problem to have, especially because, like you said, like, defensively, you are making some sacrifices at times with Wade and Niang on the floor. I think more so Niang than Wade, but like, we're getting shooting from them. They were both 2 of 5 from 3-point range, and they were getting scoring from them elsewhere too. Niang had 2 buckets within the 3-point arc, and Wade had 1. So all in all, like, not a bad rotation. I think Bickerstaff also staggering the minutes between like Garland and Mitchell, and then Mobley and Allen, at least when Allen was available. Was really smart too. I think that the Cavs playing 5 small lineups at times tonight too. I think Niang was technically the 5 in one of the lineups at one point, but like, the JB did a little bit of experimenting on the fly, despite the fact this is kind of like I wouldn't say must-win game, but like a game of significant importance because this is a top 3 team in the Eastern Conference record-wise. And the Cavs did try a couple new things where they did go bigger at times. They went smaller, and I think the rotations in lineups, just mixing and matching starters with bench players, worked really well for Cleveland in this game.
Niang and Wade being effective in their own ways, I think, would be useful. I think they just need, it's going to be about making shots for them and making and taking shots. The fact that Dean Wade took a shot like almost every other minute, more of that, Dean. That's how you stay on the floor. Because he didn't. Yep. I did have a little LOL with him this game when Paolo, who's just huge and strong, almost bounced him to Medina County. Because he just like shouldered him, and Dean just like flew back, and I was like, oh, he's not strong enough for this.
Yeah, Paolo would probably like grow up in Parma. He'd be one of those Parma paisans, you know what I'm saying? Just like eating some good Polish food and Slovakian food, but still getting a nice Italian dish. But yeah, Paolo's just freaking massive, man. The Magic in general are a big team. Like, you can definitely see John Horst's fingerprints from after his time in Milwaukee are all over this rosters, and how like they're built. Like, Anthony Black was the starting point guard, and he's 6'6". Like, they are not small by any sense of the stretch of the imagination. And it is. I wish I had thought about asking it, but did you see what Kevin Durant said about Mo Wagner being like one of the biggest trash talkers in the NBA?
Yeah, the Wagner brothers are fun. They're a fun little. The Magic are also like pushing them. Like, there's a Jake Fisher story about them, and then they're on they were on the Barstool pod. Pardon my take, as like a duo, and I'm like, the Wagner brothers are just a thing now. Serious.
This is what Kevin Durant said. I walked away from that game thinking, damn, that rookie is an a-hole, when talking about when Mo Wagner was talking trash to Kevin Durant the whole game. And like, game recognizes game. As a guy who's terminally online, it can say some of the nastiest stuff, like trash talk wise. KD tipped his cap, but yeah, they're a fun duo. Makes you wonder if Isaiah Mobley ever becomes something, if the Cavs ever try to push that angle a little bit. It might be a little tougher because Evan is not as outspoken as maybe Isaiah can be, but hey, it's worth a shot. My jot down notes in this game is we were talking about offensive and defensive rating for the Cavs in the second segment, but like, this game was indicative of like the Cavs certainly making that sacrifice defensively to kind of make a priority on offense. And this is a game where everything clicked for more or less for the Cavs on offense, but like, again, you can complain about the fact that the Magic had 37 free throw attempts in this game, and the Cavs were kind of dealing with, they had 27 fouls as a team. You can complain about that all you want, but like, yeah, like you could tell like the Cavs aren't going to be the same team. I think that was unrealistic to think, especially with the additions, that they were going to be the same team defensively as they were last year. Maybe they find a little bit more of that for them, but like, they're still a top 10 defensive team. But like, the offense, I would hope when watching this team will eventually start to catch up to the defense, where they do kind of show that two-way balance on either end of the floor, where there are going to be nights where like opponents score 100 plus on them, but the Cavs aren't turning into a rock fight along the way, which is kind of refreshing to watch after seeing some ugly wins this season, like the win over the Pistons or the one over the Raptors, or plenty of them last season.
I'm Chris Manning. That's Evan Dammarell. Talk to y'all tomorrow ahead of Cavs Heat. Have a great Thursday. Thanks again to Jake Stevens. Hope you enjoyed the hoops.